Okay, so we have our contact row here, which is going to be used to then inflate inside of our recycle view and then be able to see the actual view, right? So the view now is going to have this row here, okay, which is this, what we saw earlier. So instead of having this, just one, it's going to have an actual recycle view, which we are creating here. Now for this to work, we have to create an adapter. Let's go to our project and just do that. So I'm going to go inside of our Java here. That's where we have everything inside of our main package here. And inside here, what I'm going to do, I've got all of these awesome packages that we've added. We have the data, which we're going to be using. We have this data, which we have database handler. We have this model, we have the contact and the user interface. If we were to create other user interface classes, we would put there, okay? And we have util that we've been using. But I'm going to create another one here, another package that is called adapter. So I'm going to say new package, just call adapter like that, okay? It's not necessary, but it's always nice to have your adapters there because if you're building a bigger application, most likely we're going to be using a lot of different adapters. So I'm going to go ahead and right click here, say new Java class, and here is where I'm going to add an adapter. So the adapter, we can name whatever we want, but I like to always append adapter, okay? So I'm going to call this recycler view adapter. Like that. Now I can add here what class we are going to extend from. Well, we're going to be extending from recycler view like that dot adapter. Okay, now we have to import this. That's fine. We're going to go ahead and do that right now. We're going to import the class. There we go. So it's going to go and get from our support v7 widget, but recycler adapter as such. Say enter or okay, and then you have this. Now we could have done this inside here, but it's always nice to put it all there in the wizard. That way it's easier for us. Now we have a problem here. Well, the problem you may know now, it's very simple. In fact, if you click here, we have to click our bulb there and say implement methods. There we go. We're going to implement all of those. So that is the contract, of course, of using this recycler view adapter as such. At this point here, we have override all these methods on create view holder. We have this on bind view holder, and we also have this get item account. So we're going to go through all of these so you can understand. But before we move forward here, what I need to do for our recycle view adapter, this interface here, I actually have to specify exactly view holder here. So I'm going to go ahead and say recycler view adapter. So this name here, and I'm going to say dot view holder like that. Okay, so we're going to have a few problems here, no problem. And at the bottom here, still inside of this class, I'm going to create a public class view holder. Okay, and it's going to extend our recycler view class dot view holder. There we go. So this one now will have to do a few things. Of course, at this point here, I'm going to have to implement an constructor like that. Okay, very good. And we still have a few problems here. No problem. Let's go ahead and see how can we fix all of these. So first of all here, this will have to return our view holder. So make this to return a view holder class. There we go. Let's go out to top here. Looks like we have to implement a new one on bind view. It's fine. I'm going to get rid of this one here. It happens with just setting things up here. Voila. Okay, so it takes a little bit here to get things going, but once you follow that process, things should be good. So what's really happening here? Well, when we create our recycle view adapter, we're extending the recycle view adapter general, but we have to specify what types that we're passing here. So we're passing this view holder, which we must create inside of our main class. So inside of this recycle view adapter class. So we're going to be calling the view holder class. That's why we say recycle view dot view holder class. And that's the reason why this is also a public class, so we can access it. But this view holder class here is going to go and extend the view holder from a recycle view. This is indeed what we are interested in at this point, because now this view, we're going to have the view in which we can then do all sort of things. You will see in a moment. But you also see this override method called get item count. What is this? Well, this get item count, remember, as we are trying to get our views to show in our application here, we must understand that the data that comes in has to have some sort of count, because it's going to come in as an array list or so forth. We're going to see in a second here, right? So get count literally just gets the count of items inside of our data source. That's all. On bind view, this is where we are doing the majority of the work. So on bind view holder, what's happening here is that this is where we're actually binding the contact row with the data as well as our recycle view. Because remember, these are three different things, if you will, right? We have the data source, we have the adapter, and we have the recycle view. Okay, so now on binding, that is where we are doing all that work. We are binding together the view along with the data source to put everything together so that we can actually have an Android view that we can show to the user as such. Okay, something is happening here. Say wait. All right, very good. So we have some errors here. It's because probably we don't have our list view anymore, so we can get rid of that because we got rid of the list view and we added something else. Okay, let's go back to our recycle view adapter here. So this is where all the work is going to happen. Now, at first, this will look very daunting and very scary, but fear not, because all of these will make sense as we go through. That's why I'm going to take my time. All right, so then we have on create a view holder. So this is where we're actually creating the views and implementing all the recycling thing that we talked about that view holders do, the pattern view holder, if you will, right? So the idea is to recycle those views and make it so that the system, the Android operating system, is able to show all that data as users scroll up and down, only showing exactly what the users must or need to see, what is visible on the device. Okay? So that's what's happening here. Now, nothing is happening yet because there's a lot of things that we need to do. Now, because we are going to be using this adapter here in our main activity or anywhere else we want for that matter, we need to pass a few things around. The first thing here we need to have is a private context, right? You remember context? It has to be everywhere pretty much. And then I'm going to also pass a private list, which is going to be over our data. In this case, it's just going to be a list of what? List of contact objects as that. Now make sure to get the contact object within your application. There's another contacts which is for Android providers, so make sure you get to this contact there. Okay, very good. There we go, and I'm going to just call this contact list. Very good. So we have these two that I'm going to be using pretty soon. Now we need to create here a constructor, right? So that we can construct this object when we instantiate it so things are ready to be seen. Okay, there we go. Now inside of our view holder here, this is where we're going to do all the work, because this is where we are going to actually return, as you see, it says view holder type, which means going to return the actual view holder class, which will have all the views. What views? Well, these views here, because we created this row, which are now going to be inflated, meaning it's going to be parsed through to create an actual view. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we're going to create a view. So I'm going to invoke the view class. I'm going to use a class called layout inflator. What does a layout inflator does? Well, layout inflator inflates, meaning it parses XML file, in this case, the contact row, to make it actual Android object that we can actually use here. Okay, so I'm going to say layout inflator dot from. So we have to pass the context, meaning where are we getting this from? So layout inflator dot from, we have to pass the context because the context knows exactly where things are located. So in this case here, I can get the context by saying this dot context like that. That's totally fine. Or I can just go ahead and say view group that we are passing inside here dot get context. That works fine. Okay. And then I'm going to say dot inflate method. Now to inflate, we need to pass the actual resource. There we go. I say r.layout dot, and I'm going to have an issue here because remember we're outside of an activity, so we have to import the r as well. So click like that, say import r class, and we say dot layout. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and get what? I'm going to get the contact row as such. Right? And then we have to pass the view group because this view group will know exactly where to position our row in the view, if you will. And then for the attached root, in this case, I'm just pass false. So all we're doing here is actually create an object type view, which we are inflating, meaning we are getting this contact row here. So all of this we created earlier and make it an actual view. Okay, that's all. Very good. So at this point here, we could be tempted to just say return the view. like that, right? Because we created a view and we can just go ahead and return a view. Notice that we have a problem here. Why? Because although this is indeed a view, but it's not the view that we want, because we want the type of a view holder view, which will have all of those functionalities, all of those things we talked about that allow for a better experience, but also an efficient way of dealing with all the scrolling and the data that comes in that's been shown. Okay, that means then this is where we actually instantiate, say, new view holder, and then we pass our view like that. Right. Okay, what is this again? Well, let's go down here. Remember this class we created? Right. So we're saying now, once we get the view inflated, this contact row, it's inflated, it's now an actual object view. We're not just going to return it, because at this point it's just a simple view and we don't want that. We actually want to pass it through the view holder constructor class here, which in return, that's where we are going to be able to get the items inside of this view. What items, you may ask? All of these. We will then be able to get, for instance, this text view, anything that is inside of our view here, our contact row, we will now have access to it inside of our view holder here. So this is indeed where we are going to fetch all that information and add things to it and do all sorts of things. Okay? Okay, we're going to do that in the next video.